Hey guys, in this lesson we will dive into symmetry options in Alias. This is quite an important but simple topic that won't take long to understand. So without further ado, let's break down the basics. There are two persistent symmetry types in Alias and one non-persistent. We will start with the persistent ones, layer symmetry and modeling symmetry, and then address a non-persistent duplicate symmetry. So here I have an object lister in Alias, which contains all the geometry I create and the layers I spread them into. By default, you have a default layer, and this one, which is common in CAD systems. You need a layer that contains camera options, symmetry, and a few other components that are out of the scope of today's lesson. What's important for us is that it has symmetry data. And you can see the icon that resembles symmetry in the top right corner here. And it works as a toggle. Turn it on or off. And this is basically the layer symmetry. So you can turn it on or turn it off. And before we move on, if you prefer the layer bar instead of the object lister, let me turn it on so it's in the Windows layer bar, this one. If you click on the layer, you're gonna have the same symmetry toggle as well. So this is the layer symmetry toggle. Now I'll remove the layer bar. Now the layer bar is just the alternative visualization of the object lister. Some people prefer it, horizontal. I prefer more the classical one. So let me create some geometry to explain the layer symmetry. So we're in the default layer and I will create a line, just a line. So if I'll click on this toggle, the layer symmetry activates. As you're gonna see, I have a geometry which basically mirrored across the XZ global axis. This is important, global axis, and they are persistent, which means that I can change the character of my geometry. It can be a curve like this one. It can be a surface. It doesn't matter. It will work identically. And it basically what it does is just mirrors the geometry across the mirror plane. The mirror plane is the XZ plane, as I said. And then it sits there. Now, as you're going to see, this mirrored version doesn't have a control vertices, and that's because this is not the real geometry. This is an instance of this geometry, and if I want to create the real geometry from that, I will select my layer. I'll go to the layers, symmetry plane, create symmetric geometry. So if I'll click on this, you're going to see now it is basically the layer symmetry now turned off, and it created me the full duplicate just mirrored across the XZ plane. So they are independent now, as you're gonna see. Now if I want to activate it again, I will delete one of the copies and then just basically turn it again. Here we go. Now one of the most important things here is that this layer symmetry toggle is just a toggle. It turns on and off the symmetry, but it doesn't change the parameters of the symmetry. So right now we have a global coordinate system and XZ symmetry plane or mirror plane. What if instead of the XZ plane, I wanted that my object will be mirrored across YZ plane? How to do that? Well, very simply. Once again, when your layer is activated, and this is important because all the layer symmetries, they basically layer dependent, and for every layer you can have your own. By default, they all work like this, so XZ plane, global axis, but you can change that. So if for this layer, for the default layer, I'll go to the layers, symmetry plane, set symmetry plane. So if I click on this, you're going to see that I have this yellow representation of my symmetry plane and a gizmo. So what I will do is I will just click on this gray rectangle and hit spacebar, and voila. Now it basically changes the orientation from XZ to YZ. And now, I can just do it this way if I want. Cool. So let's go back. Let's make the XZ just the default one yet again, just to learn. And we go to the symmetry plane again, set symmetry plane, click on the proper axis, hit spacebar, and now we have the default state as it was. Very simple. Okay, so you probably noticed that when I activate the symmetry plane, a part of these gray rectangles, which resembles the symmetry plane orientation, there is a gizmo, which means that I can move it. And yes, indeed I can. And let me actually delete this geometry, turn the symmetry off, and activate another example. So in this example, I have the geometry, which is actually has nothing to do with the global axis. It was created somewhere else, right? Like in arbitrary position in our document 3D space, in our Cartesian 3D space. So what I want is I would like to mirror this box from imaginary, which is not here yet, imaginary plane onto the other side. So instead of, so from here, it's supposed to be somewhere here. So mirrored on this point. And of course I want a live link, so everything will, what I will change here will be changed here as well. So how to do that? Well, you already know. So we select the layer, we go to the layers, symmetry plane, set symmetry plane, and now as you're gonna see, we have our symmetry plane again. The problem is that I can't orient this plane properly to this geometry. So if I will try, I will hold Ctrl Alt and click to snap, and it's not snapping. It can't. I can move that. Yes, I can go in, I can try to rotate, try to do these, match the position in the information window and yada yada, but of course this is not the intended way of operating with this. So I can't snap. Why? Because symmetry plane is a plane, and to orient the plane you need a plane. So the symmetry plane is just the peaked axis, but peaked axis of the existing plane, existing view, but we don't have it. We have only the global one. So to properly align it, let me just go again, back. So what we really need to do is we need to create the plane first. And I already made a video about the construction planes and the place command and how to orient planes in the geometry. I will put a link in the description if you're interested. Here, just very briefly, in your main palette, under the construction tab, you have this plane, and basically planes are essential for modeling. In Alias and other CAD systems, they give you an ability to create your own localized coordinate systems, and this is exactly what we need to do to set up the proper layer symmetry. So what I will do is I will use this plane, or mine is in the marquee menu, and once again, I have a video about the setting Alias up, the marking menus, the hotkeys, and so on and so forth. I'll put the link in the description to this video as well. So I'll use the plane, I'll use the 3 points here, and so these 2 lines is just a guide for me. So I will create the plane first. So this is my first, second point, and third point, and I hit spacebar, and now as you're gonna see, I have a different localized plane. This is exactly what I want. Now I'm not interested about the plane itself or its view, so I will toggle it back. I'll click on the toggle construction plane. I'll do it here for the marquee menu. So I will go back where I was. Now I have a plane. This is very important because now I can go to the layers, symmetry plane, set symmetry plane, but instead of moving these handles, the only thing I need to do is I need just to hover and click on my plane. So I click on this, and as you can see, it immediately understands the type of the geometry, that this is the Frenet frame, that it has all the necessary axes, and it just placed there. So now what I need to do is I need just to orient it properly. So I need this side to be my symmetric plane, so the XY plane, and I hit spacebar. That's it, we done. And now I can even delete this plane, so I don't need that anymore. So if I will click on the to activate the layer symmetry, voila, now we have our object placed accordingly. And of course we have a live symmetry, so we're gonna move this up and down. Let me just visualize this, right? So we're gonna move this and modify them in tandem. They are live. And if I wanna break the link and create the real geometry, you know what to do: layers, symmetry, create symmetric geometry. In fact, let me do that. So I'm in the proper layer, symmetry plane, create symmetric geometry. Now please note that when you activate the symmetry, everything which is within the layer will be symmetrized. So as we create our symmetry plane, let me visualize that here, everything was flipped. So not only the object was flipped, but the actual curves as well. As you can see, you have these symmetrical copies here as well. Just keep it in mind that when you do symmetry, it of course flips everything, not what you selected, but everything, and everything will become to be modifiable at the same time. Okay, so yeah, and another important note here about the layer symmetry is that it localized within the layer. So you can do multiple different orientations and mirrorings within the layers. Every layer may have their own or global. So it's just, if you want, for example, to orient only these one here, but don't want to mess with these ones, you put them into the different layer. Simple as that. Okay, so and just to prove my point here, if I will activate the symmetry, you're going to see symmetry works as we set. But if I will go into the default layer and activate the symmetry, you're going to see that this is still where it was as we set it. So through the global XZ plane. Okay, these are out of the way. Now let's talk about the next type of symmetries, which is the modeling symmetry. Now the modeling symmetry is another type of persistent symmetry, which means that you can modify and change. The main differences between the modeling symmetry and the layer symmetry is in fact that the modeling symmetry symmetrize the object in question. The layer symmetry symmetrize objects as a whole, and the modeling symmetry give you the modeling symmetry. So just to visualize that, we have a curve, right? And in this layer, if I will activate the symmetry, this is the default symmetry across the XZ plane of a global axis. I didn't change anything. So what I want is that I would like that my curve will be symmetrized across the XZ plane, and it's already set up for this layer as a default. So to do that, I will select my objects. I will go into the object edit tab, this one, and I will find the where is this? Yeah, symmetric modeling. Here it is. So mine of course is in the marquee menu because I use it quite often. So if you activate this, well, me from marquee menu or you for this palette, you're going to see that it immediately symmetrized across the desired or picked mirroring plane. And not only that, it of course leave an ability to manipulate with your geometry, so I can move the CVs around, right? Now, if I want, let me just delete the construction. Let me just kind of spread that apart again, just to show you another cool feature here. So if I will reactivate it again, if I'll hit spacebar, you're gonna see that it will take the left side from the mirroring plane, or alternatively the right side, and then make the object symmetrical, right? Quite cool. So let me delete this and move to the next example. So we worked with curves, but of course you can do it with surfaces. So this is the surface, and imagine that I would like to make it symmetrical somewhere. I can define it myself, of course, using the proper mirroring plane. Now we know that in the layer free, mirroring plane is in the middle, in the global axis XZ. This is not what we want. We want to symmetrize this object. So where we need, like for example, somewhere, I don't know, somewhere here. And basically we do the same steps as we did in this example when we mirrored the object. So we need to realign and reset the mirroring plane. And to do that, I will basically repeat the steps. So I will use the plane, So I'll take the plane on the geometry. Explained it in the videos about the planes. Once again, link in the description. So I'll set the plane somewhere here. I'll get set construction plane. Right now I can toggle back. It doesn't really matter at this point. So I have my symmetry plane, and now I need to place my. So I have my local plane. Now I need to realign the symmetry plane. So let's do that. So layers, symmetry plane, set symmetry plane. Once again, we are in the proper layer. So then I'll just click, as we discussed before, and define the direction, this one. And then when I hit the space bar, we basically define the new orientation of the mirroring plane. So now what we need to do is we need to activate the command. So we select our object and we will activate the symmetric modeling, and it will take that symmetric plane as a guide. And as you can see, when I hit space bar, it takes one side or opposite side, and it's of course fully reductible, so I can do whatever I want with that, and it just becomes to be symmetrical within itself where I set that. So I set it here, that's why it's symmetrical here, right? Cool. Now, cool feature about this stuff is that if for some reason, so let me just delete the, for example, the history here, and I will toggle my construction plane to the original one. Now it's still, of course, it still operates, but what will happen if I will switch the mirroring plane right now back to the global one? Watch, I will go into the layers, symmetry plane, set symmetry plane, and I will have the warning. So this warning basically tells me that, hey, you want to change the symmetry plane, but the symmetry plane is actually custom in the history, in the active history of this symmetric modeling. So you can indeed change that. And if you do, don't worry, the symmetry will still keep running. So I will say yes, and I will place my plane on my original global axis and hit spacebar. So now in this layer, everything becomes to be symmetrical as it's supposed to be, but the modeling is still there, as you're gonna see. You see, so I still can just take and just still under the symmetric modeling, and this is very useful. And I believe when it comes to the symmetry, this is one of the most useful tools for me, because you're gonna set the plane for your object which you want symmetrically model, and then you turn it back because maybe you have other components which are supposed to be flipped on the other side just as a pieces, and you can do that. So now they are independent completely. Well, and of course, if I will delete the history, it will be gone, right? No more. That's it. So, and this is pretty much everything you need to know about the second persistent symmetry type, which is a modeling symmetry. So we discussed the layer symmetry and the modeling symmetry. There is, of course, one more which is not persistent, and this is a duplicate symmetry. Now, to visualize this, let me just go back here, for example, right? Where is our mirroring plane? Oh, it's still right there. So, okay, let's go to the layers and set the symmetry to the original state, and for that we go to the plane, use our general plane, set the plane, and then we'll use our mirroring. So here basically do the same as I already described before. So now we have the original symmetry active. Okay, so what if you want to flip the object, but you don't want to have this active persistent modeling? Because with this persistent modeling, you need to set your symmetric modeling axis, do all of this kind of shenanigans with the orientations, create planes and so on and so forth. What if you want just flip? A kind of duplicate mirror. So I have this box and I want it to be duplicated on this side without mirroring without persistent mirroring. Can you do that? Well, the answer is yes, you can. And for that, you don't need the symmetry plane at all. Instead, the only thing you need to have is you need to have a plane, the standard local plane. So if I will use the plane, just the standard one, I'll go to the free point as we did before because I want to do the same stuff. So let me just create this plane. Now I'm in this plane, and this is important now. So if I will take my object and I will go to the edit duplicate, there is an option called mirror. So mine, of course, is hotkey. If I open it up, you're going to see there is a couple options, and the crucial ones are under the mirror across XY, YZ, and XZ. These parameters are local to your current construction plane or to your current local axis. And this is important because right now, as you're going to see, I'm in the plane of infinite plane number 3. So if I will use the edit duplicate mirror command, and I have my own already set up, so I have all axes. So if I'll select the object and I will use the tool itself, the mirroring, it's under the YZ, it will take the YZ plane as a mirroring plane of the currently selected construction plane, so your current local axis. And if now I will toggle my construction of plane back to original one, and I will use the same command, it'll be flipped on the other side. Why? Because now we are in the global view, and I said that the flipping will be under the YZ on the left side. If I will activate this plane, set construction plane, once again, select the object, and I will flip this, it will be on the other side. So it doesn't have any persistent modeling options, so they are completely unlinked. So this is the true copy of this one, and it has a lot of benefits as well. This is one of the instruments which you will use all the time, because sometimes you need just flip, nothing else. You don't want to set your symmetrical plane, you just want to flip from the local axis or from the local plane or from the global plane, and you just do that. You select all your objects, curves, construction elements, B-wraps, surfaces, whatnot, and just flip it around. And you can do it using the mirror commands. Now I have free tools. This is actually the same tool but with the different settings. One of them with XZ, another one with YZ, another one with XY. If you don't have this set up, you can go to the edit, duplicate, mirror, and this is your options, and this is your tool. So, and this is basically all the general symmetrical capabilities of Alias, which you will use. Now there is a couple more, like the symmetry plane align, for example, and there is a couple other very specialized instruments which use symmetry in a very, very specific way, but it's a little bit out of the scope of the lesson because they are not really doing the symmetry you really think about when it comes to the symmetry. So for the symmetry in Alias, there is, once again, free options. There is two persistent ones, layer symmetry and modeling symmetry, and non-persistent duplicate symmetry or duplicate mirror, or as it's called in Alias, duplicate mirror. And that is pretty much it. No conclusions this time. Just use symmetry. It's a good practice. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.